this thing on? Because it's getting ready to be on.
Hello, and welcome to Bell Ringer. My name is Greg. Your guest name today is Colleen Heidinger, president of 43North, the Shark Tank style pitch and startup competition right here in Buffalo, New York. The competition is back again this year after a brief hiatus due to the pandemic to focus on support for portfolio companies, and it's back with even more energy after some great capital raises by its portfolio companies and the great news of ACV auctions going public. So exciting conversation. Great to talk to Colleen. So I think most of our audience probably knows by now, but for maybe the handful that don't, what is 43 North?
43 North is a $5 million startup competition that's fueled by our accelerator program based here in Buffalo, New York.
And, I think the history is pretty well documented, and we've done a bunch of stuff with you guys before, obviously, and I can link to that in some of the descriptions. But recently you've kind of had a piece of really big news, and success in startups kind of comes in all shapes and sizes, but there's no denying that ACV is kind of that new big trophy on your shelf. So tell us a bit about the exciting ACV auctions news and, how those couple days kind of played out from your point of view on the other side.
Yeah, it was surreal, right? I've been here over 6 years. I was on the team when, ACV was being created in the incubator when we sat down on Ellicott Street. So it was surreal, right? We did a lot as a team to prep for it in terms of marketing and storytelling, right? Just to help get more eyes on Buffalo when that news did break. And so it was like we were in a dream, because this is something we dreamt about in the beginning, right? Jordan Levy and Howard and the team that were around the table, Christina Orsi, that were putting this all together. This was something they would have dreamt of, right? In a fairy tale land, right? And to have it happen 5 or 6 years later is really something that is magnificent, not only for 43 North, but for Buffalo and for the continued impact that those returns will have on this community.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, ACV obviously, going public and ringing the NASDAQ bell, which was just kind of like, like you said, a surreal image. And 43 North, because they won that prize, what was it in year 2, was it?
Yeah, $1 million in year 2.
Yeah, so 43 North obviously has a stake in the company. So obviously a big day for you as well. And you had some news out of kind of what your plans are following ACV's exciting announcement. Tell the audience a bit about that.
Yeah, so our returns will come back to Western New York. And that was something that was very important to, again, those kind of folks that were around the table early on. The beauty is that it's not scripted as to how that money will be committed to this area. But our investment committee has now formed a foundation. So that money will sit in the foundation and be distributed as they see best fit once we get through this kind of 6-month lockup period and start to see returns. So it's a beautiful thing, and then it will stay here in the community. It is fully intended to help continue to grow and foster our entrepreneurial ecosystem. And the beauty of it all is that they're really, it's up to the folks that are on the investment committee to determine what this community needs most and how we can be most beneficial with those returns.
Yeah, one of the really interesting parts about 43 North is, it's not transactional, right? Like you keep with these companies. Obviously, they spend a year with you in an incubator space, and then there's a lot of follow-on collaborations and opportunities from there. You mentioned how long you've been with 43 North and that you were there when ACV won. So, you talked a little bit about the people around the table that were starting 43 North, but for you, from where you started a couple of years ago to now, leading the organization, being the CEO through such a consequential moment, how did that kind of path feel? And, I'm sure, it feels like climbing a mountain sometimes, and maybe that was, a different step for you.
Yeah. I mean, this whole year has been interesting, right? I took on this role last January, opened our new office in Seneca One in February, first week of February, moved, 8 new companies to Western New York that week as well. And then shut the office down, obviously, in mid-March. but the beauty of this whole year, right? And in the moments as a leader, when I questioned what our existence was going to be or what I was going to do, the portfolio was able to shine, right? And every time I thought, are we going to look the same? Are we ever going to be back? Another founder would call and ask for, support from our marketing team because of a raise that they had completed or a milestone that they had hit, or folks that they needed to hire, raises, that they had completed across, the pandemic. So this is obviously ACV is taking that to another level, but it was certainly just another reminder as to the investments that we made many, many years ago are coming to fruition and doing exactly what they were meant to do. 43 North was never meant to be an overnight sensation. This was a long-term play, right? Brad Feld likes to say it takes 20 years to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem. And so it was just a reminder that what we have been doing and what we will continue to do is working, with 800 jobs created in Western New York. And we don't expect that to slow or change. And certainly a plethora of companies were hiring locally here in Western New York throughout the pandemic. So all of that just continues, makes me personally want to work even harder, right? Because those things are already happening. The future is very, very bright for us in this community. And I'm honored to be a part of it at such a great time.
Right. And to your point, we always say you build a strong economy with singles and doubles, not home runs. ACV is probably, a home run. And toward the singles and doubles metaphor, you also recently announced some follow-on funding for past winners. And, just alluded to a lot of successes that other portfolio companies have had through the pandemic in pivoting or raising money. So tell us about the companies that received the follow-on funding and, why you felt, confident in that step and those companies' trajectories.
Yeah, so Strauss, Finger Time, and Clean Fiber all received $300K, and then we had a handful of other companies receive smaller amounts to divide up that last $100K. For the folks that received the 300, it was quite visible, right? Their commitment to Western New York. They've all had very, very good years leading up to this one, right, including last year. And so they've hired here. They have found a passion and exemplified a true commitment to our community. Obviously, one building literally a manufacturing plant and resurrecting Bethlehem Steel. Ravi here is in the office with me, has been every day, has hired, has partnered with UB, has had a significant amount of investor interest as he's currently raising. And Kangaroo Time, Scott transplanted from Southern California, has bought real estate here, has grown his team here. He and Strauss are two situations in our office where I took down one of our walls to expand their office in January. So, they all, we think, have traction, have increased traction, certainly, have had to pivot across this past year, but have kept the foot on the gas and with Buffalo top of mind and in their hearts. And that's what we wanted to reward and, remain true to our commitment to them, obviously from a mentorship and real estate and support standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint.
Right. And you mentioned kind of a nice segue, some of the alterations you've had to make to the office for their growth. It's a new office for you guys. You moved to Seneca One Tower, which is exciting as a bunch of other people move into and kind of start to fill up such a monument on our skyline. You made that move, I believe, either right before or during the pandemic. But kind of that aside, why was it so important for you to be specifically in that location with the vision that, Douglas Jamal and M&T Bank and others have?
Yeah, it was time, right? Every year we have increased the quality of the companies that we attract to the competition, and therefore their expectations of us continue to increase as a team and as a city, as an office, as a mentorship program. So it was time. We had outgrown. We were literally, expanding beyond our footprint there, and the opportunity to come together with the folks that you mentioned is something that we felt we had to do, right? It was exactly what we needed to do to help, the long-term vision of this community. So it's been wonderful. You're right. We were the first ones in. They built our office in 90 days, and we moved people in here the first week of February. So it is unbelievable space. We have views on every side. Obviously, we kept it very, very open in terms of natural light, and we use glass to make divisions. So, you can see the view from wherever you are. And of course, opportunities for the collisions that we talk about all the time, right? Natural, creative collisions, right? Who are you riding in the elevator with? Who are you waiting for coffee next to? Who are you in the dining hall next to, right? That's where we feel the kind of priceless opportunities will be for collaboration, for new company creation, for partnerships, right? For hiring and talent exchange. And so that's what we've started to feel even in the past few months. And I certainly expect us to continue to feel as M&T and other companies start to move back here in the co-working space that's opened, and even on our floor, right? More and more people are coming back. So it's exciting. It feels really good. You can feel the energy and kind of how this is becoming the center of a very energetic, few rings that we're going to expand out from here. But it feels really good to be back.
And as a big baseball fan, and I made a baseball metaphor earlier, I'm quite a fan of the views and got to come up and join you guys for a Blue Jays game last season. So appreciate that. And I can attest to it.
Yeah, we expect all that to be back. Obviously, they'll allow fans this year. So that'll be, maybe we'll have to do a little less entertaining, but the invite will remain because it's a very unique opportunity to see from our floor and from Seneca One, the MLB in Buffalo.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And, to the point about collisions, I don't know what the number is. I can look back and count, but even in the past year, it's got to be a handful of people I've had on this podcast that either were at the time or are now working in that office. So it kind of just speaks to, the quality of companies and talent that's headed there. It's kind of, making that vision come true, and everybody in every floor of that office is a part of it.
Exactly.
So, we started to touch on COVID, but I want to dive into it a bit more. One of the stories we've told throughout the pandemic and on this podcast, we've had 43North companies, and, Irfan comes to mind from Circuit Clinical, talking about the pivots that startups are able to make in a time of crisis like this, and the successes they've had. You and I have already talked about it today. You also had to make a pivot as an organization. You canceled the competition last year because of COVID. Tell us about kind of where those new priorities went and how you reoriented yourself, during that time to still be of service to the ecosystem.
Yeah, it was interesting because we, like this time last year, obviously things were still new to the globe, right, as to what we were going through. And so we were tracking to have a competition. We thought as long as we could do good work and do the right thing, we would have a competition. I should generally say that me personally and this organization, we think entrepreneurship is going to be the reason why the nation comes back at an even better pace, and also even more innovative and collaborative, right? It's going to be entrepreneurs that really bring us back. And so in kind of mid-June, we decided, there's still so much unknown. There wasn't really a true timeline for the vaccine. We didn't want to be disrespectful in any way, considering the state situation. And so we just thought as a board, let's pause this thing. And what we did, Greg, was we pivoted the entire team, the 43North team, to support our companies. So we took the expertise that we have on the team that would normally be helping to run the competition or do marketing around the competition or social media or CRM management, and we offered our skill sets to all the portfolio companies. So if someone needed help on a logo, if someone literally borrowed my social media expert for a week to teach them how to do social media, right? Monthly meetings and all of that still held true from a mentorship programming standpoint, but we offered an extensive amount of expertise, obviously at no charge, to these companies, and it worked out really well, right? We went really deep with some of them, providing really, really impactful work for them on things often that were on the back burner, but we pulled them forward and really gave them good work. So we did that as a team, and then early this year have agreed with our board and ESD that it's appropriate for us to turn back on. So we are gearing up now. I'm very happy to say I've hired 5 people in the past month. And, the state's commitment is there for us to fully run this thing. So we expect to turn on the competition in early June, most likely. And we'll look forward to a finals event at Shays in later October.
Very exciting news. And, I think everybody's looking forward to having the competition back, at least in some form. I don't know how much you can share about what it might look like, but even just myself as an attendee, it's always an exciting time, to head to Shays and watch everything. Kind of the theatrics around it makes it just as exciting.
Yeah, it's a little, I just, even this week, because that's when I was able to lock down Shays when they announced their schedule, but that was my baby. So I've got to let that one go a little bit, but still obviously be very close to it. But to your point earlier on, we have a lot to celebrate, not only 43 North, but this community and our entrepreneurial ecosystem, right? And despite the year that we've had, there's been a lot of really good big wins. And I don't just mean ACV. So we will find ways to celebrate at Shays and get people together. And I think we'll be one of the first events that brings people together, right, with that sense of normalcy and general excitement. So I think, it could be one of our best nights yet, right? Just with the energy and the anticipation of being together again. And of course, on top of everything, of course, awarding $5 million in investment and moving another 8 companies here in early 2022. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. Have to find a way to let go of that job and continue to do this one, but I will.
Great. Well, very much looking forward to that event. Very much looking forward to being in your office to potentially look at a Blue Jays game if they
come on down. Yeah,
that they'll be back. But appreciate all of your work for the entrepreneurial ecosystem and the region as a whole. Before I let you go, we always end with a couple of hard-hitting Blizzard round questions.
Boy. You remind me of my brother. He does this at his Seinfeld trivia events. So, okay.
If you were a flavor of ice cream, what would you be?
Chocolate peanut butter.
What's a book or TV show that you'd recommend?
I don't watch TV despite a whole career in entertainment and film. But Grit is one of my favorite ones.
Text or phone call?
Text, and I even have that in my personal email signature. Text is best.
Hiking or skiing?
Skiing. I have to get out west once a year to clear my head, and yeah, ski.
And 43 North hosts their ski day often.
We do. And next year we're going to do it even more. We had 2 this year. I said, next year, let's do 4 because it was such a hit. And, it's safe and healthy for everyone. So yeah, expect more of that.
I might have to learn how to ski.
Yeah.
How about Bills or Sabres?
Bills.
And last question, the most important one, chicken wings, drumstick or flat?
Oh my God, I just had this conversation at lunch. I don't eat chicken wings, but if I did, it would be a drumstick.
Okay, we'll count that. We'll count that towards the tally. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg, and the whole Invest Buffalo team and the Be in Buffalo team. I really, really appreciate your continued support of 43 North and myself personally. Really appreciate it.
Bell Ringer is a podcast by Invest Buffalo Niagara, the region's privately funded, nonprofit marketing and economic development organization. Please rate this podcast, follow our social media channels, and read our blog at buffaloniagara.org for the best of Buffalo Niagara. Come grow your business with us.